Hey folks, this is Kelani. Welcome back to the Battle of Dazara'lor raid guide for normal and heroic. This time we'll be taking down the Conclave of the Chosen. This fight consists of 4 bosses total, but you'll only ever face 2 at a time. When you kill one boss, the other will heal to full and gain 15% increased damage, so cleaving and multi-dotting doesn't really matter too much, and you really need to think about which bosses to kill in which order. On heroic mode, whenever an aspect dies, there will also trigger Cry of the Fallen, which deals a large amount of raid-wide AoE damage, so keep a healing cooldown ready each time a boss dies. You should keep the aspects at least 7 yards away as well, so they can't benefit from Lower's Pact, which will increase their damage and reduce the damage they take if they are together. You'll start by taking on the aspects of Gonk and PACU, so let's explain their abilities first. When the aspect of Gonk reaches 100 energy, they'll cast Crawling Hex. Several raid members will get hexed just like in a Tal Dazar. You have a green circle around you, and if anyone is within that circle when the hex is dispelled or it expires, the hex will spread to those players. So spread your hexes out quickly. They will also turn into a raptor every now and then and thrash at their current tank, dealing damage in a cone in front of them. Just don't stand in front of the aspect and the tank should face them away from the raid. The aspect of PACU will give a random ally a buff whenever they reach 100 energy, which increases their haste and movement speed. Mages can spell steal this for a good damage boost, or it just needs to be purged. Every time the aspect of PACU attacks the same target, they will also gain 8% increased attack speed, and that just keeps on stacking until you tank swap. Our tank swapped at around 20 stacks just to make sure this didn't get out of control. After you kill either aspect of Gonk or PACU, the aspect of Kimball will join the fray. This chap only has one ability, Lacerating Claws. He will swipe in a cone in front of him, which applies a large damage over time effect. The tank should face this away from the raid, and you need to tank swap every 2 stacks. When the next aspect dies, the aspect of Condor will finally join in the fight. This boss will periodically cast Thundering Storm, which deals a large amount of damage in an AoE around her. This is really easy to see and avoid. Just run away from Condor whenever you see the large blue AoE circle. When they get to 100 energy, the aspect of Condor will also cast Mind Wipe. This is a magic debuff which removes all of your abilities from your bars, so you literally can't do anything. This needs to be dispelled as soon as possible so your raid can actually DPS or heal. That's actually all of the abilities you need to worry about for the aspects themselves, but the Lower aren't just going to sit by and watch you kill their beloved followers. Each Lower will join the fight in different ways when their aspect is engaged. So you start with both Gonk and PACU using their special abilities, then you add Kimball into the mix when his aspect comes into play, and when you're on to the last boss, Condor will also start causing issues. Even when you kill their aspect, the Lower keep using their abilities. This can get pretty hectic by the end of the fight, but let's see what each Lower does. PACU will spawn in the middle and then fly to a random location at the side of the room. He will start channeling a massive AoE which deals a crazy amount of damage, but there's a safe zone right under PACU, so everyone needs to run to PACU when he lands and stay in the safe zone until the effect is over. Gonk will summon a few raptors which spawn at the side of the room. They'll pick a target and chase them around. If they reach their target, they will deal a huge amount of damage very quickly, so they need to be kited as much as possible. They can be slowed, stunned, knocked, gripped, all the usual stuff, so do your best to keep them away from the raid. On heroic mode, if a raptor gets too close to another raptor, they'll both get a large movement speed boost and become immune to crowd control for 5 seconds, so do your best to keep them apart and focus them down quickly. Raptors should always be your highest DPS priority when they're alive. Kimball will pick a few targets and then start pouncing between them. Anyone within 5 yards of the target will get knocked down and have a bleed applied to them. Spread out to make sure only the target gets hit to reduce the damage to your raid. Condor is a little more annoying. He will apply electric debuffs to several players, which will explode after 6 seconds, dealing damage to everyone within 5 yards. So you need to spread these out as best you can, but the debuffs also spawn electric orbs which fire everywhere. If you get hit, you'll take damage and be stunned, so spread the debuffs out as best you can and avoid the orbs when they spawn. On heroic mode, Crag will also join the fight from the very beginning. He doesn't do too much though. He will leap towards the furthest player a few times in a row. You can see where he's going to land because it's a big white swirl. You can bait this if you really want to by just having a few range stand on the very outside of the raid, but we found it easy enough to just avoid. If you get hit by Crag, you'll take damage and get knocked back. All of these abilities can and will overlap at certain points in the fight, so you have to stack under PACU for the AoE while having to deal with raptors. You can also get Crag jumping around inside PACU's little circle, so just be careful and be sure to avoid the large swirl as best you can. Towards the end of the fight, you're going to have PACU's AoE, Gonk's Raptors, Kimball's Leaps, Akunda's Lightning Orbs, and if you're on Heroic, Cragwar's Leap, all to deal with at the same time. Things get messy towards the end for sure, just deal with it as best you can. We found it easiest to kill Gonk first to get rid of the hexes immediately, then kill PACU to make sure he didn't get too powerful, and kill Akunda next. This removes the mind wipes from the encounter as soon as possible, which we found to be a pretty big issue with such a large group. If you kill Akunda before Kimball, Kimball will be pretty strong in the very last phase, but seeing as he only has one mechanic to worry about, it didn't really bother us too much. You can kill him in pretty much any order, but this is the one we found to work best for our raid team. We saved our Lust for the aspect of Akunda. As soon as they joined the fight, we popped Lust and burned them down. When you're left with those two near the very end, that's probably the hardest part because you have all of the abilities to deal with and two aspects. When you go down to just one aspect, the fight does get a little bit easier, but you still have to pay attention to all of the lowest abilities. But that's all you should need to take down the Conclave of the Chosen on Normal and Heroic. Stay tuned for more boss guides to help you conquer the Battle of Dazar'alor. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, you can find a link in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.